Hi, how many of you have used Google slide presentations before to try and create a presentation? Wow, I see almost every hand has gone up. Well, if you've ever wondered how to make your presentations more effective, I'm going to show you a presentation that will hopefully be able to do that for you. So I entitled this The Power of Visualization, the Do's and Don'ts of Hypermedia Presentations. So the font and the typography are very important. Headings are good, but subheads are also good, and you want to make sure to use both of them. The font should be uniform and consistent, and the size shouldn't be too big or too small. We're going to see some examples of this later on. Using color in a slide is really good, but don't use a color that doesn't contrast with the typeface that you're going to use. And always make sure, most important, to check your spelling and your grammar, because if you make a spelling mistake, it's going to look really unprofessional. Okay? So, as you see, don't use too many fonts because they're going to spoil how your slide is going to look. You want to use the same font. You can make the size big and you can make it small, but make it consistent. Make them so that they're exactly the same in the slide. You don't want to have too much type that's too small in a slide. You want to make sure that there's space between your sentences. Bullet points are really, really good to use when you're doing either PowerPoint or a Google slide presentation. And you want to have it clear with not too many images in it. So the reason that I'm saying not to do this is because it's a really cool picture. A lion roaring is really very effective way to get your message across. But the color looks pretty boring, don't you think? So let's see how we can do it so it looks better. What if you did the typeface like this? If you use red instead of black. Looks pretty cool?
Yeah.
Good. So here are some more do's and don'ts. So can you tell me what's wrong with this one? Can anybody tell me what looks wrong with this one? Stacy.
It says quite instead of quiet.
You're absolutely right. There's a typo in there. It doesn't look good, does it? So what if we did quiet, please, exams in progress? If we spell everything correctly and our grammar's right. Looks a lot better. So when you're designing a slide, you want to make sure that the typeface stands out, and fewer words are better. Like I'm talking to you now, and I'm just sort of filling in what I put up here on the screen. Your transitions shouldn't be distracting. You don't want things spinning around and going backwards and going forwards, because that really isn't such a great, it distracts your viewer. And your background should be simple. So here's an example of a type of color that's really hard to read on the background. You see green is really hard to read. It looks like a Christmas tree. And red on blue also doesn't work. So you want to do something that's much easier, like a black on a white or a yellow on a blue. See how there's so much typing here that's really hard to read, and it fills up every single inch on the slide. What if we took it and we made it very simple? Because that's much more effective. We use contrasting colors. We have a dark background with a light text, or a light background with a dark text. Large enough text so it's easy to read, brief statements, short sentences, and a limited amount of text per slide. I think that your teachers would rather see you use more slides with fewer words than the other way around. Whoa! Be really careful when you're doing transitions, because if you do things with the flying words, it can be very distracting, as you just saw. So doing transition is much better. So you want to be really careful that you don't use a very convoluted background, something that's really confusing and has lots of elements. You want to make sure, like Apple does, they use a dark background and white text. And it looks really nice and clean, You can read it, and it makes its point. When you're using media in your slides, I don't know how many of you have actually put music into your slides, but you really want to balance the music, the animations, your video, and your graphics, so everything plays an equal part. Nothing should be taking the emphasis away from another part of the slide. And your presentation should be well balanced and organized. So I put this little avatar up here, and it's something that I made very quickly, but you can see how it really takes away from the words on the slide. You can't read them very well. But if you look here, there are just a few words, a nice simple picture, and it looks like a really nice put together slide. So I do like the avatar. So here's another example of too much stuff going on. There are too many images. You want to just keep it down to one image, possibly two, but really just one picture. It should balance the slide, and it should enhance the text. It shouldn't be taking away from what the words are, and it shouldn't overwhelm what you're saying. Thank you very much. Does anybody have any questions about anything? Do you all think that you're going to be able to put this to good use when you're making slide presentations?
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you so much for being such a great audience.